speaker tonight is Tom Crowley.
So that's it. As technology continues to improve, the costs come way down and amateurs can get more and more involved. So that's what I've got. I suggest going to the radio-astronomy.org website, the SARA website. There's a lot more information.
Tom, thank you so much. This was a great presentation. I see some applause already. Who has questions? Please identify yourself. Okay.
Tom, N2YTF.
Sure, go ahead, Tom.
Two questions for you. First, you talked about the very large array of radio telescopes and how small portion of the sky it could see. Could you translate that to antenna gain? Is that translatable? And also, could you give us a layman's explanation of whatever it is Joe Taylor did, the founder of WSJT and radio astronomy? I understand that was his Nobel Prize. Thanks a lot for the presentation, and to White.
We'll do the easy one first. He was at Princeton, and he was looking at pulsars, and he discovered the first a friend of mine that works at Green Bank as one of the astronomers. He and his office mate were both working on their doctoral dissertations. And what happened was that my buddy didn't like math and the other student did. So he ended up sharing the Nobel Prize for the dual pulsar. And I have held that Nobel Prize. So he's really an interesting guy. He is very quiet, very unassuming. You look at what he's done for ham radio, I mean, it's just unbelievable. As we were going through the quiet period of cycle 24, suddenly BX was wide open. It didn't take me very long using FT8 to get 100 countries. So now the tough one, translating that into dB gain. To be a radio telescope, you need about 180 dB a gain from the receiver, antenna, low noise amplifier. So that's your entry point. They measure, there's two ways to measure the signals. One is in degrees Kelvin, and they consider radio telescopes to be a thermometer. The other way is in a measurement called a Jansky, and a Jansky is some unbelievable small number that I can't remember off the top of my head per meter squared. So those are the two ways that they measure signal, and I unfortunately can't translate that to a signal in dB. Sorry about that.
Thanks for the presentation. It was great.
Right.
Ed, N8EME has a question. Why did Reber use 160 megahertz?
He started at a higher frequency, and as he came down, he found 160 worked. I've forgotten reading some of his original papers, what frequencies he had started at, but it came down to 160 meters. Again, he was a radio engineer, so he had the wherewithal to build that equipment. That equipment is sitting in the Science Center at Green Bank. And I had an opportunity to meet Grote Reber about 1997, I think. He was brought up there to redo the original Jansky experiment. Mm-hmm. So they had a World War II receiver, and they were using Jansky's array, which is up there. The interesting thing with that was that he found that as he rotated the telescope, that suddenly it lit up very brightly, and nobody could figure out what it was. I looked at where the telescope was pointing, and what it was showing was the PCs, the 486 PCs that they had in the Jansky lab. So your PCs are great RFI. I put a visual camera that looked at the Green Bank telescope when I was up there for 6 weeks, and I had to make it quieter than the test equipment to detect RFI, and that took quite a bit of work. So it can be done, but Faraday cages, triple shielded cables, shielded camera. I mean, it's a lot of work to get things quiet. Those of you that are working with RFI understand.
Gordon at W2TTT has a question. Gordon, over to you.
Well, Tom, thank you for a wonderful talk. I'm in the process of acquiring Joe Martin K5SO's old 8.5 meter dish,
Okay.
or 8.6 meter dish, and moving it to Florida. My goal is to use it for education. What would you suggest as a way to get kids fired up in pointing this thing up in the sky and hearing things, whether it's their own echoes or, better yet, stuff from the great beyond?
Where are you going to be in Florida? Oh, Live Oak, sure, just off 75.
Yeah, we're about 25 miles west of 75, right?
Okay. Yeah, I know where that is. It's a ham radio group that's there. I sold a place in the Chiefland Astronomy Village. Yeah, it's 8 miles south. There's an astronomy village. So I was the token radio astronomer there and ham radio operator. I would go to the STEM teacher at the high school and start there and chat with them, kind of put together what you're going to do. We do that here with Georgia Tech. Also, if you want to get the school involved and if you want to mentor them, then the Society of Amateur Radio Astronomers will provide the equipment for the students.
Okay. I mean, I actually have it, one of the STRs you mentioned, I already have some of that stuff. So, but you're saying for the students themselves to mess with,
Yeah.
In their backyards, as it were.
Yeah, you can do that, or working with a STEM teacher, you can have that as a high school or grammar school project where the kids work on it, and you can be the mentor. So
Absolutely.
we do some of that at Georgia Tech. We go out and we give a presentation, which is basically optical astronomy. We talk to them about the moon, and then using the telescope in Maui, we show them the moon. I have the kids move the telescope around, and that really gets them interested. But the key is to find the STEM teacher and work with them in getting things started. What's the name of the outfit that does the VHF, UHF stuff? They used to be in New Jersey, and he moved down to around the Live Oak.
Oh, Down East Microwave.
Thank you.
Steve Castro. He lives about a mile plus from me.
Okay, yeah.
I know Steve.
Anyway, that's where I would go to get the kids interested. The other thing you can try is a Boy Scout troop, Girl Scout troop, and there's an astronomy merit badge.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that. I'm a longtime scoutmaster, but oddly enough, there's no scouting in Suwannee County. It's frightening.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yeah. Just to close this, I'll just point out that the tower behind my ham shack came from a Georgia Tech graduates station. It was K2GL up in Tuxedo Park, Buzz Reeves. And part of my own 45 tower came from his estate.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Tuxedo Park is interesting. I have a neighbor here, and Tuxedo Park was very active in working on World War II radar.
Yeah.
Other questions for Tom? Thank you, Gordon. Other questions for Tom?
It's W2JC. I have a question.
Go ahead, Jim. Mhm.
Yeah, decades ago, there was a SETI project where they farmed out data to people with personal computers, back when personal computers were just getting spread around. I'm wondering what has become of that. Is it still active, or did anything come from it, or whatever?
Several things happened. They pretty much ran out of funding, ran out of data, and of course, the Arecibo telescope, due to lack of funding from the government, failed and collapsed. So that telescope where they were picking up data is gone. That project did find some interesting things. Some of them were repeatable, but they never claimed to find ET. There's another project going on with the Green Bank telescope looking for ET, looking at 100 planets that are nearby in nearby solar systems. And the nearest to us, the nearest star to us, they've found some signals, and they're not sure if they're real or not. So there is work going on in that direction, but SETI at home is long gone. I did a lot of work with that. I know guys that would take all the computers in the office at night and fire them up at SETI at home. But that's what happened.
Thank you. I
Good
used to do
questions.
that with my computers too, but it's a shame that Arecibo fell apart.
Well, there was a study done, and I read the report some time ago on what happened. And a lot of it was the placement of the cables. The cables weren't maintained. It's very salty air there. So they got, they began to rust and weaken. And the visual of that collapse, I think you can find on YouTube, is pretty spectacular to see how it failed. One of the cable systems failed, and they didn't do anything to recover it. And so the stress just caused the whole system to fail. But not to worry, the Chinese have a bigger telescope like that.
Right. Okay.
Thank you, Tom. Very.
Yeah, thank you. I think, Jay, you have your hand up. KD20.
Hi, Tom. What kind of antenna would I need? If I got like a little parabolic dish, do I have to mechanically scan it? If I got an array of antennas, can I phase tune them? How narrow of a beam do I need in order to do some amateur radio astronomy?
You live in Bergen County?
I'm in Summit, New Jersey. That's
okay.
Between Morristown and Newark Airport.
Yeah, I know where it is. I lived in Bergen County.
Okay.
And Warren County and Morris County, so I'm familiar. A 10-foot dish or 3-meter dish is really the best. And if you can pick up an old C-band dish, you can. I did a paper where I used a little microcomputer, and I could move the dish around using the arm that was used to move from satellite to satellite on that C-band dish. And then you just waited for the sky to go by you, the right ascension to go by you. And that worked real well. That, and actually a cheaper way to go, if you want to just living in Summit, Society of Amateur Radio Astronomers sells a 2.4 gigahertz dish, and that's set up to run on the hydrogen line, and that runs under $300. So that would be, to me, the best way to get started with that. And once you begin to learn what it's all about, then you can start thinking about going to a larger dish. The SDRs today are just absolutely incredible for what they can do and how low the cost is. It used to be, to get the 1420 receiver, it was about $3,000, and then several hundred more to get a low noise amplifier and all of that. So about $300 from Sarah, you can get started with a hydrogen line.
Okay. On that telescope offhand, what's the beam width?
Oh gosh, probably 20 degrees.
Oh, okay. So it can be very coarse then. All right.
Yeah.
Because you had like, microradians in some of your presentations. So I thought you needed something very, very big.
No, my 3-meter dish, 10-foot dish, was about 15 degrees of sky. Saw about 15 degrees of sky.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you. That's very interesting.
Any other questions? One or two last questions.
Ed, this is going to cost you a Kinchling's pizza.
So, yes, we know. So anyway, we'll send a gift certificate for next time. So, perfect. Thank you. We don't get mad, we get even. There you go. So anyway, any other final questions? Who wants the last word? Tom, this has been fabulous.
Well, I've enjoyed it, guys. I find it tough doing a Zoom call because you don't get any feedback. Tomorrow morning, I'm talking to a group of neophytes about galaxies. So there I'll get lots of feedback because I'm able to look at the audience and see if they're spellbound, sleeping.
See the travails of technology as well, right? So
Yeah,
there you go.
that's it.
So, anyway, so let's see, I'm just reading here. NADME plans to grow Reber's 40-foot dish, please, right? So, and I guess that's the last word. Tom, on behalf of FLARC, thanks again for a wonderful presentation. As I mentioned, I guess when we've just finished Q&A, we had close to 60 tonight, I guess, in terms of a net, which is one of our largest groups. Certainly, I think the largest group for 2022. So congratulations to you as well. Thank you all, okay, on behalf of FLARC, and see you soon, and 73s to everyone.